Yes. Hi everyone. A very good evening to all of you. I hope that I'm clearly audible to you guys. Can you please just confirm? Ragyan, Vishwash, Vijayshri. Hi everyone. Am I audible? Great, perfect. So welcome back. I hope that all of you are good, all of you are well, and I hope that all of you are practicing also the things that we have been learning so far. So we were working on a few of the things, talking about JavaScript, right? We have done try catch. We have done the other functionalities also, which includes in the JavaScript that how we need to handle that. So in today's session, we'll be talking a few other things. Let me just share my screen with you guys. I hope you are practicing also the HTML code with the JavaScript that you are writing, right? Okay, perfect. That's great. So these are the things that we are going to cover in this session. So we'll be talking about just one second. Yeah. So we'll be talking about these three topics in the today's session. The one we have is this singleton factory and module patterns. We'll be first talking about the purpose and the need of all these things, that why actually we use that and what is the purpose of using this. Then afterwards, we'll also talk about that how we can actually handle them in the few examples and how we need to execute that, right? Okay. So I hope I'm again just confirming that I hope I'm clearly audible to you guys and visible also, right? My screen. Okay. So while we talk about these topics, yes, these topics plays a very important role in the JavaScript. They are the different patterns which we are going to use in the classes that we are going to make, which has only one instance. Like for example, I have already mentioned it to you guys in JavaScript. It does follow the concept of the oops, right? Where we are talking about that we are going to make a class and the members of the class can be accessible through the objects, right? That means for a single class, we can make as many as number of instances, right? Which are objects. Like for example, if we define one of the class, there can be as many as number of students in that class, right? So the students are referred to as the instances of that class, right? That means only those who are the members of that class will be able to access the data respectively. But here, when we talk about these patterns, right, this singleton uh, patterns, yes, it ensures that a class has only one instance. Now you will be asking that why, what is the purpose of that? Why we need to have only one instance, right? Generally, so we can have more instances also. But how this is better than what we are talking about, right? Okay. For that, let me just talk about the purpose of using that because every time the class members which need to be accessible, right? If we are having so many instances, they want to access the information, they want to access the information at a single time only, right? Then there can be different issues which can arise. But these patterns, which are nothing just occasional design patterns that ensure only one instance of the class can be created and that same instance is used every time the object is requested, right? This is the reason we are ensuring that a class will have only one instance and that instance will be used by all the by that single object that we are talking about, and it also helps us in providing a global access point to that instance, right? That means looks like we have a single mm, we have a single storage from where that storage for every time any object wants to request something, right? For that, we'll have only one instance, which helps us in maintaining the records very clearly and have a global access point to that instance, right? It is also very useful for the shared resources, because mostly in the shared resources, what happens if we have multiple different instances, right? So different instances will keep the different records, and that will be very difficult in maintaining the information synchronized. This is one of the reason that we are using these patterns, that ensures we'll have single instance and will be very helpful to us in easily maintaining the records with the synchronization and having a global access point, which can be very beneficial in the shared resources, like we talk about configuration settings or logging or database connections, because for that there can't be different access points. So it's better to keep one point which will be shared among others, right? To keep the information synchronized. Very importantly, configuration settings, logging, database connections, all those things, right? I hope my screen is visible to you guys, whatever I've written on that screen. Okay. I'll share this file with you guys also. So key features of using that, we'll have single instance, we'll have lazy initialization, and we have a global access point to that, right? A single configuration object accessed throughout an app can one of the real world example that we can use, which makes uh, the things controlled also, right? And once we talk about these designs, yes, because they're limited to single instance, that means the singleton class control its own initialization. Okay. And for that, yes, we use one of the method as get instance method that we are going to use in the example. In what scenario that we need to use, when you need exactly one instance to manage all the resources. Like for example, if we talk about one class, and as a teacher, if I want to communicate with other students, right, to whom I will call, it's better that we'll have one seer, that one point which is common to everyone, right? Will pass the information to others. That's exactly, I know I need one instance to manage all the resources or pass on the information or setting, whatever it is, right? In that scenario, we are going to use this singleton design. But in case you want to create objects and you want to create multiple instances, right? And creating the multiple instances with different configuration also that is required, right? For example, some of the information we want to share with someone else, with somebody, we want to give different information, right? I don't want to have any centralized uh, system where everything will be in the shared and same thing will be synchronized. We want a one system which is decentralized, right? Or we say that we can have is the decoupled code also, right? So we can have multiple instances which can be created. We call it as factory design patterns. Okay. These are another kind of patterns that we have in this. We call it as factory patterns. So this is the idea, the logic behind this. Let's try to implement that with an example, right? So let me just save the file and save it. We have the different files which are there. Okay, let me just save it on the desktop and give the today's date, that is 12_05.html. Okay, so this is a HTML file. I'll be using the HTML code. I'll be defining here the topic that we are going to do design. I hope this Sublime is visible to you guys. Is it okay? Ragyan, Santosh, Vijayshri, is it visible? Vijayshri, is it visible to you guys? Okay, I hope so. Okay, I've got the response. Yes. Okay, that's perfect. Great. So now here we are going to write the script that we are going to do one example, and we are going to create a class that will have exactly one instance only, right? This is the example that we have to do. So the purpose I've already told you, to ensure that we'll have one instance and that will have a global point of access to all things. Where we are going to use it mostly, yes, we'll be using logging services, database base collection, configuration settings. This is where we are going to use all the things, right? Okay. So now let's try to implement with an example so that we can understand how does it work and how we can use that. Okay. So the very first thing that we have to do is we are going to create a function. We are going to create a class, and for that class we are going to create a instance of that class also, right? So I hope you remember the different functions that we have done. So for this, obviously we use that name function we have described with constant that we can use. So I'm using the constant keyword, and with this we are going to describe the function, but obviously for that we are going to write the name. You can also take any name as per your convenience that we have discussed already. So I'm going to create a function, and that function will have some body, right? Okay, that we have to explain. So in the function, whatever that function is going to return, we are going to put in that variable, which is this config, right? So in this function, I'm describing, or I'm not describing, I am actually declaring one keyword first of all. And the keyword name, I'm just keeping it as instance just to keep the thing synchronous. Okay. You want to have another name, that's fine. But here I'm explaining you that example with which we are going to create the instance. This is the reason I'm for the configuration settings, right? This is the reason I'm just keeping the name similar to that. Okay. So here the function has started, and this is the function name that will we are going to call, which is config. In this, we have globally declared one variable in this function, right? Okay, that is inside this function. That means for whatever the things that we are going to describe here, for that it will be global. But as per this example, it will look like as a local variable because it is inside a function. Okay. Inside a function, yes, we can have anything. We can have any other variable we can describe. We can have even other functions also that we can create. Okay. So in this function, I'm going to create another function, right? For which I am just writing here create instance is my function name, and for which we are going to describe that it will return us something. So what it is going to return? It is going to return me two attributes actually. Okay. The one I'm keeping it as the app name. For example, you talk about this is MySQL we are using. Okay. Right. And another that we are going to have another attribute, which is the version that we are using. Let's suppose 1.6.1 I've just written over there. Okay. So I want this function to return this. And I also want my this main function to return me something. And for this, we are going to write this statement return. And we want it to return the get instance. Okay. This is what we want. And that is also creating one another function having some body we are going to describe. Okay, so I'm just writing if the instance of the instance is equal to create instance this function, then I want it to return instance. Okay, this is what I'm writing. I'll explain you. So we have this is where we are returning. This is for the function part, and this is for the return part. Okay, that statement we have ended. then we are also going to call it there, right? Now you see here. So here I've created a function and the function name is configure. I have one variable instance, which is local variable inside this function. We have another function with the name create instance, which is returning us two attributes. One is app name and one is version. And configure function is returning us the statement which we are calling it from the function, that is get instance. And we are just writing a statement here. If the instance is equal to this create instance, this function, right? Okay. This is my variable. So whatever the value that we are going to describe in this variable, if it is equals to what this create function is returning, then we'll just return the variable name, right? This is what we want. Okay. Now, now the point is we have to create the instance of this. So for this, I'm using this constant. I'm going to use a few variables name that I can take it as configure1 and constant, and that I can take it as configure2, right? These are the two instances separate we are creating, right? So I'll say config, that is my main, this function we have created for this class config. And what we need to do with this, we need to call a function get instance. In order to create an instance, we have to call this actually, right? Okay. In order to create this instance, we have to call this get instance. This is the keyword that we use in order to create that. Similarly, I'm going to do what? I'm going to copy this and paste it here also again. With the same class, I'm going to create that instance. So why I'm doing this? This class in which few of the variables and functions are described, I've just created two different instances for the same class in order to show you that if I'm having this singleton design patterns, in that we'll always have only one instance that will be created and that will be shared among everyone. Okay. Now in order to execute, I would like to print something on the console, and I would like to print that is the is it same instance or a different instance, that two of this that we have called it here, right? For this, we need to do comparison. Okay. And for comparison, we use double equals to. So there are two instances are there. Configure1 equals to configure2, right? This is what we have written. Because configure1 is going to do what? With the help of this class, it is going to call get instance, which is this. So if they are equal, they will return me the instance. So this is going to return me one instance and this is going to return me another instance of this class. Then we will be checking here that they are same or they are different. In that way, it will be easy for us to understand whether they are equal or not, right? So let me save this file. Let me open in the browser and let me show this screen to you, to all of you. I hope it's visible. Let me inspect this page. Let me go to console. And you see we have got the message as true. Can you see here on this side? We are just checking that if this instance is same or not. Yes, we have got the answer as true. It is returning as true, right? Which means for this class config, in which we have this function, we have create instance function, we have get instance function. So when they are being called, both these config one config two, both these instances are same. There is no difference in that, right? Which means this class will always have a single instance that will be shared. Even if we are creating multiple instances, but they are eventually same. That means we need not to create any other instances that will always remain same. This is the reason we use this class, which helps us in creating a single instance and that will be shared among everyone. Okay. On the other side, we have a factory pattern also, which provides a way to create objects without exposing the initiation logic. And the factory methods return object based upon the condition of input that we put, right? I hope you remember in the object-oriented programming, there is one keyword that we use is polymorphism, which means many forms. That means one instance can play a multiple roles and behave differently in different situations. Okay. Now consider a scenario that let's suppose I'm friend with someone and with two of my friends, right? The polymorphism means behave differently in different situations. Now consider that my two of the friends, one friend got 90 marks in an exam and another friend got 50 marks in an exam, 40 marks in an exam. Now consider a scenario when I will be meeting to one of my friend got 90 marks. I'll be very happy. The person will be very happy, or I'm also very happy. I'll be very happy, right? But while I'll be meeting other friend who got 40 marks, I will show different emotions in that. I'll be a bit sad, okay, motivating him to get good marks in next. Now, a same person behaving differently in different situations, having multiple forms, we call it as polymorphism. This is the reason we use factory patterns which create objects but without exposing the insertion logic that we have used, right? And they are very, very good in terms of putting the conditions or the inputs, and they have a centralized object creation. That means we can have multiple objects that will be able to create. Okay. Now, in order to execute the second part of this factory patterns, let's try to implement one more example so that we can understand how does it work. Okay. So let me create a new file. Let me save it. Underscore 05 underscore. I'm taking this file as 2 underscore this. Okay. That should be with HTML. So let me have HTML code. This is factory design. So we have to write the script and let's try to create few classes so that we can understand. One second. Okay. So let's try to create one class here in the script with which we understand how it is going to create multiple objects and it is going to have the concept of polymorphism also, right? So I'm just creating a class here. In the class name, I'm keeping it as car, in which I'm creating a constructor also with the logic that we have done in one of the classes, where I would like to tell you what is the difference between a constructor and a normal function. For the normal function, we have to call that function, but with the we have to call that through the object only, right? but constructor automatically got called whenever the objects are created. That means we don't have to put extra effort to call them with the help of the different objects. We just can call it. It will be called as soon as the object is created, right? Okay. So in this, we are going to define a variable type, uh, and in which we are defining here is car. Okay. This is one class, and that will have one variable car. It will automatically gets initialized as soon as this object for the car is created. Is it okay? Then similarly, I would also like to have another class with the name truck, and I would like to do the same process, creating the constructor and have the same variable type. But in that, I would type here truck. Okay, that this is the truck type. So two classes we are having. Okay, class car and class truck. So one another class that we are creating here, that is the name I'm keeping it as vehicle factory, in which I'm creating one function which name is create vehicle, and in that we are going to have one parameter. Okay. So my class we are having is vehicle factory. In that we have one function create vehicle, and we have one parameter is vehicle type. Okay. Any you can take any name. It's fine. I'm just keeping it simple to understand it better, right? Okay. Otherwise, whatever the way you remember it, you can keep it. It's not in concern. So I'm just going to type few conditions here. If the vehicle type, okay, this parameter that we are keeping, we are going to do the comparison here. If this vehicle type equals to this variable that we have created, right? Okay, the car variable and uh, the type variable that we have created for one constructor of the car class and truck class, right? So we are going to do the comparison. If we are going to call this function, if it has car, if it has car truck, and if we are going to compare it, if after the comparison we got to know that if it is equals to car, then I want this if to return the car. Otherwise, I want it to return truck in that case. Is it okay? So if this vehicle type is equals to this car, I want it to return. And what I want it to return, I want it to return this car. So for that, obviously we have to call that, right? Okay. So I wanted to create this variable and return this car class. Is it okay? So with the new keyword, I hope you know that we use new keyword with the class to create an object, right? To initialize the memory to that. Okay. This is the reason we are using that. So as soon as this function will be called and we pass the parameter car here, if it is equals to car, it is going to return, do what? Creating an object for this class. Very simple. Okay. Right. This is what we are using. Similarly, if mm, we are doing, I will be writing one more condition if the vehicle type is equals to truck. Okay. TRUCK. Then I want it to return what? Then I want it to return the new, return the object for the truck class that we have to create. Is it okay? This is what we want. So I've got this another class vehicle factory in which we have two if conditions, and we are going to create, and they are going to create the object or instance, whatever the condition matches in one of the cases, right? So we are going to keep, uh, obviously we have created this class, but in order to make this function work, because this is not a constructor, right? If it is not constructor, we have to create object, and through object, we need to call this create vehicle function only. Okay. So for that, obviously uh, we need to create the instance for this class first of all. So for that, I'm just taking constant. I'm just uh, defining here is the factory. Okay, that is the keyword which I'm using here, and you can also keep it with small f. That's fine. And I'm going to define new here. And for vehicle factory, we are going to create the object. Is it okay? Right. First of all, we have to create the object for this class. Then obviously we will be able to call this create vehicle with the parameter that we need to pass. Is it okay? So now with the help of this factory, the variable that we have created, I'm going to call, because this is the object, its reference is stored in here. So with the help of this object, now we'll be able to call what? We'll be able to call this create vehicle function. And we need to pass parameter. Let me say I'll pass the parameter as truck. Is it okay? And it is going to return me the object. Which object? This object. So for that, I am keeping again another constant, and I'm defining here is my, just a variable name as my truck. You can again keep any other name. That's totally fine. So once for this vehicle factory, the object will be created with the help of object. I'm calling this function, passing truck in that. It matches this condition. It is going to return me object truck, which I'm storing it in this constant, my truck, which is there. Is it okay? So now I would like to print something. Obviously, we want to print something. So on console.log, I would like to print something, and I would like to print this object. Is it okay? I would like to print this variable that is nothing, just the object of this class. And if I need to assess this variable type, I need to assess only through the object. So I will be using dot type. Okay, this is how we are assessing the variable. So what is the output that we are expecting here? We are expecting truck here, right? Why? Because as per the condition which matches here, we are going to make it work. So what we are expecting here, we are expecting truck here. Is it okay? So we have got this one class, we have got this another class, and we have this our main class in which we have this method. So we have created the object, and with the help of this object, we have called this method with passing truck in that. So as per this condition will work this, and it will return us this object, this instance that we are storing here. And with the help of this instance, I will be using, I will be assessing this variable. So we are expecting it to print truck. In case we are passing here is car, then we will be expecting here the object of the car class will be created, that will be storing here. And if we are assessing the variable type again, it will print car to us. This is what we are using. Okay, that is what we are expected to implement here in this example, right? So in this example, the plan actually was mm, to create the variables, to create the objects, which are nothing, just the instance. So create objects without specifying the exact class of the object. So we have created a class here, but we have not mentioned. We have created a class here. We have created the instance of class also. But here we have not mentioned actually that class, for which class we have created that instance. Okay. We have not specified the exact class of the object. which we have created. Okay. So they are very useful for creating the buttons, the modals that we use in HTML, right? Different user type like admins, yes. For this purpose, we use this factory patterns. And there is another pattern that we use. We call it as module patterns. Okay. Apart from this factory pattern, we have another kind of patterns which are available to us that we call it as module patterns. The purpose of the module patterns to encapsulate the code into the reusable units while protecting the variables from the global scope, which means that once we are going to use these kind of patterns, the purpose of the module pattern is to we can say is to split your code into the smaller parts and more importantly reusable pieces. They help you, they help us more importantly in improving the maintainability and reusability of the code. How? By creating the public and private access level classes, okay, in the code that we use. They also uses the concept of encapsulation, which is nothing just wrapping up of the entire data in a single unit, right? Okay. Like you talk about this code, you are creating class, you are creating objects. So when this file is going to compile, this entire code, classes, objects, initialization, they all are compiled in a single unit, as a single unit, right? This is what we call it as encapsulation, wrapping up of the data in the single unit. Okay. So for every programming language, there are design patterns that we create and based upon the experience of different developers for the better communication, to improve it and to make the code reusable, providing the solutions. We have module patterns. They provides the concept of encapsulation and also provides reusability of the code to ensure that it will have rich and well written code, and we should always ensure to write the best code possible, and the module pattern can help us with that, right? JavaScript doesn't have any inbuilt support for these modules, right? We are the one who are creating that. Okay. How? Yes, we create public private access levels, and we sometimes call it as encapsulation, which I've told you guys, right? Okay. um, the module patterns are also very similar to we have created is immediately invoked functional expressions, right? But if we talk about defining a function, a variable, or any other class or any other structure, there is only one way that we can do is globally we are defining, right? Okay. Or yes, we also define the functions as private in JavaScript. There can be different parts with which we can work, but there is no way to define that whether we are going to work this way or other way. So we don't have to assess modifiers in JavaScript. This is why scope is very important. And what we are doing, we are using here module pattern. Okay. So module pattern usually we define like in the first example also we have done. Okay. This is the similar kind that we define a module pattern. You can see that, right? We have created this function here in the parenthesis. We are going to put it. So that is the function. We are going to put the private variables or the functions we go here, and in return, we are going to make it return. And this is the function that has been called. This is the very simple strategy or very simple syntax that we follow for this. Okay. So let's try to do one example of this and understand how does it work. So let me just store the file as 3.html. Okay, and let me write the code for the same. So that is module pattern we are talking. Okay. So in the module pattern, we can expect it to like calculate something. Sorry, just one second. So what we can do is we can expect it to um, encapsulate the private data and functions, right? It uses the closures to create private shades, provides public, private members, organize the code better way, and provides encapsulation. Okay. So for that, we can use one example to calculate something. So for this, what we are going to do, have to write the script here. Okay. Same way that we are writing. So syntax, I've already told you, you have to put this parenthesis here and you have to describe the function here. Is it okay? This is the uh, this is one you have to use and with which you have to describe the body. And first thing that you're going to do, you are going to define the private members. So let me say I'll use here one variable as a result, which is having one value as 0. Then again, I'm defining another function, right? I told you this pattern. Okay, we are defining function, private members, or functions that we can also declare, and then we have one return, which is going to return as the function, which is going to return the statements of this function. So I'm going to first define variables. I'm going to define a function also here, right? Okay, and function name I'm just keeping it as add, with which I will have some body. And the add function is going to do what? Result plus equals to x. This is what. So here we are having one variable that will take the value of x and add it and store in the results itself. Okay. So we have in the function of this, we have defined one variable and we have defined one function. Is it okay? And then we are going to have the return statements. We expect our main module function to return something and we want it to return add and we want it to return uh, get a result also. That variable we have to define. Okay, two of the variables that we wanted to return, um, add and this get a result, and I'm going to put semicolon in that. Okay, I'll tell you in a while what is this get result that we need to call. Is it okay? So we also have to, for this, we also have to create another function here. That is our nothing, just get a result. And that will have, that will return us the result. Okay, this is, so here we have a function, we have our private variables, we have our private functions. So this function is returning us, one is add and one is get a result. Okay, two of the functions it is returning us, add comma get result. We are saving it, right? Now I hope you remember that once we are returning it, we also you need to use this syntax also, right? Okay, for the purpose of our function compilation. So I think we are supposed to uh, create this function. We are done. So for this, we can also do one thing. We can put it in a constant and I can just name it as a calculator also, right? So my entire function stores in this calculator that will return two things. Okay. And with the help of this variable calculator, I'm first calling the add function. And then again, with the help of the same variable calculator, I'm just calling get a result also, this function, right? Both these functions we have to call. Is it okay? Right? This is what we are doing. So we are also expected to print the result on the console. So I would like to pass here 10. So once it is going to call add function, it will pass 10 here. So result will be 0 plus 10. So we'll get 10 here, right? And second we have is the get result that we can call later. And I can expect the add function to call again with passing 10 value with 5 value in that, right? So after that, we have first the result will be result equals to 0 plus 10, 10, and then 5 will be stored in the previous result. So we are expecting it to print us 15 here. Okay. This is what we want. So what what we are understanding here, we are understanding that the private data and functions are encapsulated in a single function. This is module pattern. It helps us in avoiding polluting the global scope. Okay, we are into the local scope of this function, and it uses proper closures to create private state of these functions, right? So the key features that we'll be providing for this is encapsulation, public private members organizes our code better. And with this, we have better utility modules, maths libraries, and services that we have described. So this is just a function that we have created module pattern with the module pattern where these are our private variables, private functions, and they're returning us these functions, but we are calling it with this add result with this variable that we have described. So it helps us in uh, easily understanding the code and maintaining the codes very, very clearly, right? So this is what we are using for the module pattern example, and that is what we have covered in this. So after that, we are also expected to work on this observer and strategy patterns, but I think we are short of the time. So these are the things that we can cover in the next class, and then we can implement with few examples also. But I hope that you are good with these examples that we have done so far. I hope that we are good with this. So that's it from my side for today's session. I'll be sharing these files with you guys so that you can practice it. Those who have joined late, I request you to please see the recording in case you have missed anything, right? So sharing those today's files with you guys so that you can practice and you can work on this. Is it okay? Right? Just give me 1 second to share the files with all of you. Let me just sort the data. Just give me 1 second. We have this file. So we have another files which are there. Anything else where we have stored those files? Okay. So I guess we are done with that. So that's it from my side for today's session. I hope that we are good. Okay. So we'll meet in the next class. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care. Good night and practice it. And let me know in case you have any doubt.